I bought the house when I was a single woman and I had first moved to Frankfurt, and I had the advantage of living here for a couple months and knowing the community and knowing how rich it was and the historical significance of this community. And so when I saw it, it was perfect for me. It was a small little 3-bedroom row, and we're still just as happy. We've outgrown it. It's just my husband, I, and my daughter, but we've outgrown it. But we love where we live. We can walk pretty much anywhere. I can get to, which we travel to often, Bermuda, from my house in a suitcase. I can get to the L, to the train, to the airport, and vice versa, to any country in the world. So I love where I live. There's a lot of things that makes me proud to be a Frankfortian, but the number one thing is being a member of my church. My church is part of the African Methodist Episcopal sect, which is a sect of Methodism that was founded by Richard Allen right here in Philadelphia. It was founded because Richard Allen was originally attending St. George, which was a few blocks up, and they weren't allowed to worship out loud, and they weren't allowed to praise God from their mouths. And so it was terribly offensive to them as African Americans. And at the time, they were freed slaves. So they decided to, he and another person decided to found the church. It is one of the original Black organized and continuous Black churches in the nation, and Campbell is the second founded. This year we will be 205 years old as a congregation, and our building is about 150 years old. I come from a place in North Jersey where they literally were burning crosses the year I graduated high school. And so coming to Philadelphia and joining that kind of richness in African history really touched my spirit. And so I am fully charged, involved with my church, but most of all to preserve the history, because I think that it's important that we save what we have learned. If we don't know our history, we can't go forward. We will repeat our mistakes. And so that's very important to me. And why it's so important to me as a Frankfortian is because that church was built with the help of others. One large proponent was the Friends Meeting House across the street, which is 1500 Orthodox. And they were significant in supporting freed slaves, and they were part of the Underground Railroad. We have 3 stops here that we know of in Frankfurt. The Unity was one stop, which was the other Friends house down in East Frankfurt, and then us, Campbell, and then the Orthodox Church. And they were key in that. And what I've found is that here in Frankfurt, the ministerial process was very inclusive, regardless of its racial divisiveness. And that's pretty important to me. I'm a saved Christian, and I believe that Christ's walk, and not everyone does, is that it's completely inclusive. And so the fact that other religious orders thought it was important for other religious orders to exist means a lot to me. I founded Frankfurt Coalition of Neighbors, which is basically just an outgrowth of the Human Relations Coalition, which was the organization I joined at FGM. And I've had a lot of folks be on my committee that did not appreciate. One big, huge thing I had to get over was we got an influx of Muslim population, and they've started a number of businesses, and they've been great neighbors to us here in Frankfurt, and started a masjid. And so when I reached out to them to ask them to join my committee, the Christian members on my committee, a few of them quit, and that really hurt my feelings. If I say it out loud, probably first time, because I kind of felt like that's not what Christ teaches, and so it was really hurtful. And since then, they've seen that I've been unwavering, and why I think Frankfurt was important to me is because those who backed me were, yet again, the Friends community. That's what I find here in Frankfurt. I find black, white, purple, it doesn't matter. People will be your friend in times of need, regardless of what's going on. And it's a very unique community where folks will stand up for what's right, but they will also back some very things that you just know are beyond wrong. I know when I moved on my block, because of where I lived, 6 white neighbors around me moved, 4 sold their houses, and 2 just literally walked away, because I was the second person of color on the block, literally a black female. And I guess it was an affront to them. And we've been blessed by it because I have wonderful neighbors now. And some are white and some are black that have moved in. But I don't want to say it didn't bother me. It just made me realize where we still are in 2000, that this still happens. And so I forever have to be vigilant. I always have to remember that that still exists in the world. It happens right here. It happens between me and the L, which is the pathway to all in this world. The Frankfurt Plan is actually one of the original community-driven economic development projects that have happened in the world. We have had visitors from Sweden and England and you name it. They just, literally, they just want to talk to you like, how, wow, your community wrote an economic development plan. You're like, yeah, we kind of did. You take it for granted. And that's how special this place is. Like literally, that's how special this place is. Because people realize when the mall was built, we lost so much of our avenue. And then they shut down the avenue when they rehabbed the L. And we lost 85% of the businesses. And when you talk to some of the soiled saints here, that is the number one thing that breaks their heart about Frankfurt, because half of them were born here or raised here, or you find folks of color who have moved here. They moved here during the great black move from the South to the North, and in the 20s and the 30s, and they'll tell you they may not have been born here, but they were raised here, and this is a place they take a lot of pride in. They went to high school here, they went to school here, they bought their homes here, they raised their children here, and when that avenue fell apart, that's when crime started here. That's when the decline of Frankfurt happened. Philadelphia was the place that lost the most boys in Vietnam. So there were a lot of young men, black, white, purple, that were lost in Philadelphia. So there's a whole generation. And then if they came back on drugs. So it started with a terrible drug addiction starting in the 70s into the 80s. And you had a terrible recovering of that from this community to then turn around and have their avenue destroyed. It has just been a hole being dug. And that's really what drove the Frankfurt Plan. What drove the Frankfurt Plan, which FGM, the community development piece of it, started in 79 or so, was because black, white, purple were sort of like, okay, we may not like each other, but we cannot let our community get any further than where it is right now. And it started FGM and its programs and eventually became the Frankfurt Plan. That's what Frankfurt's about. It is so exciting to talk to people who are that passionate about seeing change around the corner from their house and willing to do it. I would love to see the genesis or the metamorphosis of Frankfurt on the mural. I would love to see where it was a very divisive place full of factories and very segregated communities and how it's changed. I would like to see our past depicted, most especially. I'd like to see the Friends Meeting House. I'd love to see Campbell. I'd love to see the UMC churches, and I'd love to see the Historical Society. I'd love to see some images of the L being created and that kind of thing. So you would see this historical stuff and you would see how it has changed, because my organization is really an organization that speaks to the change. It speaks to embracing whomever's living here. Now you have so many people who have moved here, bought a house. This is one of the best places. You get your bang for the buck to buy here. My daughter goes to school across at Friends. I have convinced 2 parents already to move to Frankfurt because it's your bang for the buck. They came from South Philly and a row small as mine for the same price, bought twice the space next to a park. That's how awesome this community is. And you're not losing anything in the change. You moved literally across town. You got more space, more bathrooms, a park, and you walk to your kids' school, which is an awesome school. This is the best kept secret. And I am, hands down, it is the best kept secret. I don't care what anyone says. Frankfurt is extraordinary. Absolutely. And so many people get wrapped in, well, it's so racially divisive, it's so this, it's so that. Yeah, but it's so many other things as well. It is so rich in so much, great and not so great. But because of that, there's so much opportunity to see change. So get involved. So don't complain. Don't sit on the sideline. I have friends from home, because I'm a business major, who live in these beautiful flats in New York and these great big houses in North Jersey, and can't possibly understand why I would want to live in some small little row in Philadelphia. And I say to them, well, how rich is your life? Because mine's rich. I have friends. I have a great community. My kid goes to a great school. She sees her parents give every day. She sees them want to get involved. She sees them want to love people no matter what their prejudices are, and I mean mine. She sees that no matter what's going on in our lives, we always have time for our fellow man. That's what I want to leave my kid, because that's what I got. Frankford is extraordinary.